Is that a breakup?
I think we have a situation right here.
On the filling station.
Hello?
Hey, what's happening?
Hey,
You good?
I'm good.
One of my first questions to you was, are you sure you're ready to tell your story?
Not sure if I'm ready, but it's happening.
So before we get too far, I need to tell you that you are on the lockdown edition of the Feeling Station, so please do not say your name, okay?
All right.
And what I've done ahead of time is picked out a name that I'm going to use to call you.
Okay.
And the reason why we're doing this is because we need to keep everybody on this podcast anonymous.
The name better be cool and sexy is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, you're just about to find out, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
So I've picked a name from Zambia.
Okay.
And this is in a language there called Chewa. And the name is Misozi, right? Which is Misozi, Misozi.
Okay.
And that means tears. I don't know, is this going to bring tears to me or what? No.
No.
Oops. Okay.
It's going to be like, what?
Wow. Okay, so your name is Misozi. Now, what I need you to do, and I couldn't tell you this ahead of time, is I need you to pick out a name for the guy that you're going to talk about.
Can we use the initials?
Yeah, it's entirely up to you.
I think it'll be better because then if I'm saying names, I might just end up saying the name. So, yeah.
Well, I guess as long as the initials aren't directly attributable to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so go ahead, go for it. What initials are you giving him?
We'll say G.
G.
And R.
G and what?
R like Robert.
Okay, so GR.
Yeah.
I hope you remember that.
It's two people, mind you.
What?
Yeah. I told you you're going to be like, what?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Right. I did not see that coming. Okay. Now, for anybody who's listening to this podcast for the first time, the podcast touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about. And what's really important is the lesson or the lessons that we're going to bring out from this experience. So for you, are there any lessons that you want the audience to pick up from your story?
There's definitely going to be some lessons because this is something I'm sure you've heard, maybe not experienced, but, you know, something like this, it's common.
Okay.
In, I'm going to say maybe the African culture or even, you know, white people. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But as we get into it, you'll see.
Okay.
But there are lessons there.
So let me pick one of the first lessons now. And then as we listen to the episode, I'm going to ask for the other lessons as they come along. Okay. So what's the first key lesson you want people listening to this episode to learn?
The first lesson, always be truthful, no matter what.
Okay. So always
no matter who it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
No matter what it's going to do, always be truthful.
Okay, cool. I'm happy to start with that one. Jeez, I'm quite fired up for this one. Okay, so who do you want to talk about, G or R first?
It's all intertwined.
Oh my God. Okay.
You need something strong for this one.
Okay, fire away. Get started. How did the whole GR thing start?
Well, you know, I was in my teens. You know how it is when you're dating and, you know, life is fun. You think you know everything. You just want to do everything. So I was in Form 4 and I was dating R.
So that means you were about 16, 17?
I was 15.
15,
going
cool.
16, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, I'm dating R. R seemed to, you know, R was a good guy. Like, he was, even up until today, well, not up until today, but before I met my husband, I always used to say, maybe I should have, you know, done right by R.
Okay.
He would have been a good husband type thing,
Okay.
you know. So I was dating R, everything is going well, and R used to live like, it wasn't a nice neighborhood, whatever. And then after that, things happened because he lived with his mom. Things happened work wise for the mom. They had to leave the place they lived at.
Okay.
And so he moved to Mavugo. Can I say that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
you
say
can.
cities,
And
right? Yeah.
and obviously I just need to point out to people listening that Mavuku is a neighborhood in Harare, in Harare, Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he moved there. I don't know nothing about Mavuku. I don't know where it is, what it's about. And he calls me, he tells me, I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? So I then I don't know, whatever. I actually know. I went to my aunt's house for the weekend. She lives in Wesley.
Okay.
So I went there because I had to get my hair done. So I went there and then I bumped into this fine ass man. Well, he was a boy.
Yes.
He was a boy then, but I bumped into him and I'm like, oh, damn, who is this? Type thing. I didn't talk to him or anything, but fast forward, me and him ended up talking, right? Little did I know, Mans was also checking me out.
Okay.
But yeah, so we started talking. He just started off as, he's fine, whatever. I'm talking to him, blah, blah, blah. So R was like those dark, sexy men.
Yes.
This one was more of the salady type,
Okay.
Yeah. So, which is G was the salady type. So anyway, during this whole time, I'm talking to both of them. Well, I'm dating R, but I'm talking to G as well.
Okay.
So anyway, fast forward, my mom is in diaspora. She tells me, your stuff is done. You're coming. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. You're young. You're thinking, I can go diaspora and I'll still be rocking it with my man, blah, blah, blah. Things will be fine. All that. And, I was still seeing these two. So then I would always go to Zim every summer break because our summer breaks are like really long.
Yeah.
So I always used to go for holiday in Zim every year. So when I was 18, I went there and I got pregnant.
Oh. By who?
But again, R was the official boy. G was just that thing on the side.
So hold up a sec. The whole time that you left Zimbabwe to go to the diaspora, you had both of them as your boyfriend.
Yeah, like I said, R was the main thing and
Wow.
G was the side thing. G had his own girlfriend. So it was one of those, okay, you're doing your own thing. I really don't care. I have my man, that type thing.
This is moving way too fast for me. So okay. So you're here, right? Misozi's here. You've got R as your main guy. And then you met G, who you liked.
Yeah.
You shipped off to the diaspora, but kept coming back to Zimbabwe for holidays, and both of them are your boyfriend. And then G has a girlfriend of his own.
Yeah.
And you knew about this from day one.
Yes.
And you were okay with this.
I was fine with it because I had my own man. So it was like, and besides, it's not like when I started talking to G, it was like, oh, let's date or whatever. We just started off talking like regular, like friends and whatever. And, as we're talking, you start, kind of talking deep and whatever. And then pretty much you figure out you guys like each other and blah, blah, blah.
So whilst you're on that point, who lived closer to where you lived?
G.
Okay, so it was easier for you to see G than it was for you to see your main
Exactly.
guy. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right, this is making sense. So you've come back on holiday and you've fallen pregnant. Okay.
I fall pregnant, right? So I'm thinking, and G was the culprit. So
He was definitely
I
G. G was definitely the culprit.
He was the culprit, yes.
And how do you know this?
Because remember, I said, but this is before I even knew he lived far. So R always used to say, "Oh, I can't come see you." We never really used to see each other, so it was more of we just keep talking over the phone.
Okay.
And so with G, obviously, I would be seeing him all the time.
Okay.
So when I had come back, I hadn't seen R.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I then found out I was pregnant, I didn't even know. But G had the nerve to come and be like, so I said to G, yo, we need to talk. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm going to come over. And I'm like, yo, I need to tell you something. And he's like, you're pregnant, right? I'm like, what the what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but then accident happened. And oh my God, I was
Whoa.
livid. And then that's what was there, right?
So how did you not
So
notice that he had ejaculated inside you?
listen, I was not experienced in the sex department.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So, and it
This
was
is
one of those
funny.
things where, because during that I was at my aunt's house, right? So it's like one of those where you just try to be done and you just, rushing it out so that no one knows what's going on.
So in your head, you didn't imagine that this guy would have come that quickly.
No, because, and that's another thing.
Oh
This actually
dear.
taught me about sex. I'm like, nigga, we didn't even do 3 minutes. Oh my goodness. I'm like, how did this happen?
Wow. Okay. Right.
And,
Go on.
but anyway, that happened. And I'm thinking, no way. I'm too young to have a child. My mother's going to kill me. I don't want this. And this is going to be like, for these people who are not into what I'm about to say, sorry. But I was like, I'm going to have an abortion. I'm not keeping this child. I'm not doing that because that's just going to mess up my life. Right.
Okay.
So I'm here. I'm in Zimbabwe. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Then I'm like thinking, what am I going to do? I don't know anyone. I don't know what to do. Then I confided in someone, like a family friend. And then they told me, oh, go to this such doctor. They will do this for you, blah, 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 blah. That type of a thing. So we go to the doctor. We pay this doctor money. He gives me some pills. And nothing happened. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, nothing happened. He's like, oh, come back again. Maybe you need like a stronger dose, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it all didn't happen. And I just came to the realization like, maybe I'm supposed to have this child. Maybe this is a sign because I went there 3 times and I'm like, I'm not even sure if this man was giving me anything. Maybe he was giving me like aspirin or something
Yeah.
and just taking my money. Anyway, the child is there. I've just said, you know what? It's not going away. This is what's happening. I tell my aunts, my mom's sisters. My mom's sisters tell my mom. My mom is like, she better stay there. She's not coming back. I'm like, My mom did not want to do nothing, like have nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Because I knew this guy also didn't want to have this child, right?
Right.
So, and this is going to be the messed up part. Don't judge me.
No, not judgment-free zone here.
I decide to call R and then I invite him over and I'm like, you know what? Come over to my house. My aunt is not here, blah, blah, blah.
No, you're not about to tell me this, are you? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, go on. Let me hear
I
this.
call him and he comes over because I always used to use the excuse that, I live with my aunt. I can't see you. And all this was just because I wanted to be with G. Anyway, he comes over. I slept with him.
Was this your first time sleeping with him?
No, it wasn't the first time.
Okay.
This was like the third time, I think, whatever.
Okay.
So we slept and I'm, acting all casual and whatever. Like nothing's wrong. Then he goes home. Then after like a week, You know how it is in Zim, where people are like, so who's the father of the child? We need to figure out what's going to happen. And these people wanted to send me to this man's house, right? Because my mother said she's not coming back, even though, because I came under her and I was a citizen, but she was not having, she's like, she is not coming back here. You all need to figure whatever you're going to do with this child there.
So your mom was saying you're not going back overseas?
No, she's like, stay there. Since you want to act grown, be grown there. So I told them it's ours, child. Because I knew this one has a girlfriend. That's one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but
you can laugh. I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, go on, yeah.
I'm like, and also he didn't want the child, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't trying about to be at someone's house and, I didn't know how I would be treated or how it would be like, blah, blah, blah. I knew R loved me, right? So I said it was R. So little did I know, when you tell people in Zim, this is the father of the child, they take you there. I thought it's just one of them. You'd be like, oh, this is the father of the child. Oh, okay, you guys are still young. So,
my gosh.
No, they took, and mind you, I'm not saying I'm, a salad or whatever, but I grew up, in a nice place. And when I got to Mabuku, it was a wake up call because I didn't know there were places like that. It was like, what? Because he always never used to want me to go there. Like, I would always be like, oh, let me come over. And he would always be like, no, you can't, stuff like that. Oh, my goodness.
So for those who've got no clue what that's like, can you just describe very quickly what that looked like?
It's like the houses are so tiny. It's like one long building or something, and it's just broken up into small sections where people are living. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's just so squatted. It's just so, it's just dirty. It's, I think the place we went to, so basically when you're at the door to the place you're going, just 10 steps is the next door to the next house.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
There's no separation of anything. It's just like one long thing. And this is like, and maybe there are other nicer areas of Mabugu. Actually, there are, because as I live, this is for another thing, but anyway, we get there, right? And my aunts are like, okay, we brought your wife. And I'm like, I'm already a wife. We brought your wife. This is what's gonna happen. You need to take her and this, that, and the other, whatever procedures are.
Wow.
And then this guy, he lived with his aunt.
Yeah.
So that's where we went. Then the aunt's husband is like, do you know this girl? And he's like, yes. And he's like, so are you accepting what they're saying? And he's like, no. And then I just looked at him. I'm like, what do you mean, no? You don't know me? You don't know what we did? And my aunts pinch me. They're like, be quiet. I'm like, because at this point, I'm also panicking. I'm like, wait, why are you denying me? I thought you were just going to be like, yes, I know her. This is my responsibility, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so his aunt's husband was like, you know her, you've done stuff with her, so this is your responsibility. Then, they talk with my aunts. It's okay. We accept her, leave her. We'll take care of her, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so I get left there. And my goodness, I am telling you, I have never experienced that kind of a life. Like, I've never experienced. I remember the first day.
Yeah.
They made me sleep in the kitchen on the floor.
Right.
Because it's a small place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking, even when I got there and I'm seeing how the place looks like. Like, my mind is not even there,
Mm.
I'm just like, okay,
You're too shocked.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but at that point also, I'm like, I told them who this is. They have accepted me. I wasn't even thinking about, okay, so what now? My goodness. I sleep in the kitchen the first night. I was like, I cannot do this shit. I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry. And I said it to him. I'm like, yo, you know where I stay or where I used to stay, whatever. I am not finna be sleeping on the floor.
I got a question for you. That first
Yeah,
night, did you sleep in the kitchen on your own or with your now husband, in quotes?
with my now husband.
Wow, side by side. Did you?
Side by side.
Wow. Okay.
We were already,
Wow.
husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so he's like, oh, what do you want me to do? I'm like, I don't really know what you're going to do, but I'm really not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So this aunt of his, she had like her own children. So the one dude lived, where did he used to stay? I think it was Glenlawn or something like that.
Okay.
So he called his cousin and he explained what's going on. So the cousin came over, they were close, and then he took us in. So
Mm-hmm.
the second day, it was like, oh, they were just said to like their aunt, like, oh, mama, this is a small space. Let me just take them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look after them, blah, 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
So when we got there, and I'm like, oh, yes, finally, something nice, And now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can get into this stuff, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
I stay with this cousin of his for maybe 2-3 months. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still there, mind you. My mom is still not talking to me.
Wow.
And I haven't even seen anyone from my family at this point because they all just left me with a suitcase of clothes and that's it.
Mm.
So my dad now is looking for me because he just got told the story after I had left. My dad is like, why didn't you guys tell, this was me hearing about it after, like he was complaining, like, you guys should have told me about it. I
Mm.
would have taken care of my child, blah, 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 blah. How can he go leave her, that type thing. But my mom,
What was the reason for excluding him in the first place?
I don't know if it's like a traditional thing. I don't know.
Okay.
I really never knew because it was just like my aunts
Mm-hmm.
and the uncles
Okay.
involved in this whole process.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, after 3 months, I really do not know what happened. I don't remember what happened, but we had to leave his cousin's place. And guess we had to go back.
Back
We
home.
had to go back to Mavugu.
Yikes.
But this time around, we didn't go back where we were. We went to another place because his mom's other sister also stays in Mavugu, but she stays in an okay place.
Okay.
Not nice, it's okay. And
Yeah.
there was no sleeping on the floor and stuff like that.
Okay.
So anyway, we go there. Now I'm about maybe 5 months pregnant, and stuff like that. Then finally my mom calls me. She's asking me how I am, blah, blah, blah. And I tell her what I've been going through. Then she starts crying. That's my mom. Even though she's upset with you, but if anything's happening to her children,
Yeah.
she's not happy with it.
Yeah.
So, she's like, oh, I didn't even know this is what you're going through, blah, 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 that type thing. And then she's like, you know what? You guys need to go back to like my brother's house where my aunt also used to stay. Because my aunt was waiting for her house to finish. She was building. So anyway, we talked to his mom, we talked to the aunts and everyone, and we tell them, I'm going to go back home. So the reason was, oh, I just want to go give birth.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Where, like, with my family, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I mean, but you're going to be giving birth like 4 months down the line. Do you think they bought your story that you just wanted to give birth?
Well, they did, because I think it was more of, less mouths to feed
No.
type thing for them. because they didn't even
Okay.
it was different. I'm telling you, like what I thought, what I was used to,
Yeah.
and what I experienced in those like 5 6 months.
Was life
I
changing.
don't even want to say it was torture because there's people who live that life.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're used to a certain lifestyle and then you just get thrown into this, other lifestyle,
Yeah.
it was bad. But
Okay.
then I survived. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just. But anyway, we go back, and then my aunt ended up moving into her house. So now it was just me and him in my brother's house
Mm-hmm.
living. Now it was like, okay, I guess this is what's happening. I guess now this is my husband. But then there's still this thing that I know that he doesn't know, that
Mm.
everyone else doesn't know.
That this is G's baby.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So when I went back to my brother's house, I see G because that's where G lives as well.
What?
Yeah, not in my brother's house, but the area.
Okay. Phew. Okay. Okay. Thanks for clearing that up. I was getting hella confused here.
Stop.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So G sees me and he's surprised, like, "Oh, you're pregnant," because I kind of told him that, like, it worked, whatever we were doing.
Oh,
Yeah. So
really?
he's like, "Yeah, because at that point I was just like done with him. Like, I just thought I'm just gonna go with R, and I'm just gonna start a life with R, and things are just gonna be a certain way."
So, as far as you're concerned, the abortion worked.
Yes. As far as he's
Oh,
concerned, the abortion worked. He's got
yeah.
nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
But anyway, I see him, and he's shocked to see me with my big belly.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, he got his girlfriend pregnant a month after me.
Wow. This
So
guy.
his girlfriend was now living at their house. I'm like, well, thank God, because imagine it would have been two of us pregnant at that house.
It would have been hella messy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then I'm just like, I just ignored him. I just, I had a small conversation with him, and I
Mm-hmm.
told him what's going on. And I told him, you and I don't know each other. So let's just keep it that way. You made
Mm-hmm.
your decision. I'm cool with it. You're cool with whatever situation you got going on. So let's keep it as that. So we
Mm-hmm.
always used to see each other just passing through. At this point, we were now not talking. I would never even say hi to him. I
Mm-hmm.
would just be going my way as if he's some stranger. So anyway, we started going to church with R, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to church and blah blah blah, and I got very close to like the pastor, and I told him the truth, and then he's like, "What are you gonna?"
Well, why did you feel the need to tell the pastor the truth?
Because it was eating at me. I feel like whenever you have something like that in your heart, there's no way you're just gonna have peace. Like, you can try and act like everything is okay,
Mm-hmm.
but is it really? Like, I really wasn't okay in as much as I was trying to make it seem like I was. So I told him, and I sort of felt like I needed God's forgiveness. And I thought, if I tell, the pastor, he'll help me and things will be okay. But they were not okay. And the one thing I'm glad, he never forced me to tell him, like to tell R. He said, if you're ready, when you're ready, you'll tell him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay. We went on, we went on. The baby came. Guess the fuck what? This child came looking
Like
exactly
G.
like G.
Wow.
I remember that when the nurses gave me the baby,
Mm-hmm.
I was in my mind. I'm like, oh fuck, oh shit, okay, there we go. But the thing is, I don't know what it is with R. I
Mm-hmm.
laugh about it now. Even my aunts, we laugh about it. Like, he used to tell my aunt, like, oh my goodness, this child looks like me when I was a baby.
Oh
Oh,
man.
it was, anyway, the
Hmm.
child came, and, everything is fine. It's not official. He, they sent like money to my house, this, that, and the other. And now it's official. We're like sort of husband and wife, right? Then my mom at that point is like, you know what? You need to come back. You need to go to school. You can't be living there because there's nothing for you to do there.
Mm-hmm.
So then we talk with our, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go with the baby. When I go, I will work on getting you to come. And he's like, okay, cool, that's fine. He was excited. Everyone is excited. Like, I'm going. Oh, before we go there. So when I
Yeah.
gave birth to my baby,
Yeah.
G heard I have a son.
Yeah.
His girlfriend had a girl.
Mm.
Now this nigga is
Oh,
interested in my child.
because it's a
Oh,
boy.
because it's a boy.
Wow.
I'm like, you know what you're not gonna do is want to claim my child or anything. Keep that same energy you had when
Mm.
you didn't want my child.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, when my mbuya, my grandmother, came from the village to come see the baby,
Mm-hmm.
we bumped into G in the road. I didn't say nothing to her.
Mm-hmm.
All I did say was, oh, hey. And that was his first time, G, of seeing our son. And he just looks over to my son and he's like, oh, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And we pass. My granny looked at me
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, you've got something to tell me.
Wow. And do you know what? I've been told this about the older folk, that they're very discerning and they can get vibes and
I
they can see
believe
stuff
that.
real quick, because all she said to you was, you got something to tell me.
Yeah. And this was
Wow.
from seeing him for like less than a minute. Like she
Wow.
saw this guy less than a minute. And then he goes, she's like, you got, I'm like, oh my goodness. At this point, no one knew, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
Except the pasta.
except the pastor,
Yeah.
yes. So before I left to go back to Espora, I told my aunts and obviously Granny, I told Granny the
Mm-hmm.
truth. I'm like, okay, guys, this is the truth. This is what happened. Oh, they were like, what are you saying? Like, everyone was just like, are you fucking kidding us? Like,
Mm.
what do you want us to do? Like, this is a shitstorm,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Then I'm like, honestly, I don't know, but you guys shouldn't say anything. Let's just keep quiet. And as family, they all kept quiet. No one said anything. They were like, I don't know. It's all up to you. Whatever you decide to do, we will support you.
So, question.
Yeah.
Did they know G from the neighborhood?
They knew G from the neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Go on.
Yeah. And when I told my aunt, she's like, I had a feeling. I really had
Mm.
a feeling. But I guess because he really does look like my son and him,
Mm-hmm.
they look alike. So if you know him, I guess people are just like, you know how it is when people have questions, but then they don't really want to ask.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. So anyway, fast forward, I go diaspora. I'm there. When I'm there,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I don't want to say it was God or whatever, but I decided I need to tell this guy the truth. I just didn't feel good about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel good about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if I want to pray, like, is God even going to hear my prayers when I've got this, big thing?
Yeah.
So I went back for a year, came back December holiday,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to tell him. I decided to tell.
Whoa.
I thought of telling him over the phone, but I was like, nah, let me go there. I'm going to tell him. He's going to understand. He loves me. Things are going to be cool. Yeah, no, that's not what happened.
So, can I ask a question? By this time, if you were to measure how deeply in love you were with him on a scale of 1 to 5, where would you say you were just before you told him?
Was it a one?
Wow.
Maybe. I knew I didn't love him, and I think that was the other reason I
Okay.
decided to tell him. I didn't love him. I loved that he loved me. Like, I knew he loved me with everything in him. And I was taking advantage of that. I know they always say love someone who loves you more, but I didn't even love him.
Hmm.
I knew he was a good guy. I knew he would make a good husband. I knew I would, have a good life with him.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, it's not fair. He deserves to be with someone who loves him, you know?
Okay.
So that's when I was like, I need to tell him. But this whole time, the whole year I was in diaspora, I just kept it cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we continued as everything is okay. Then when I came back is when I told him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was still staying at my brother's house because everyone is still thinking, well, the people who don't know, they're just like, okay, that's fine. He can stay.
Yeah.
This is our in-law, whatever, whatever.
Mm.
So I got there. I tell him. He was upset. He's a good guy because he never touched me or laid hands on me or even shouted at me.
Mm-hmm.
But you could tell he was heartbroken. He just started to cry and he left the house.
Wow.
He left the house. He never came back. I guess he went back to Mavuku. And then he called me and just said, I'm coming on such a date to get my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't be there. Me being me,
You were there.
I was there.
Oh,
I was
okay.
thinking I could talk to him. I could apologize some more. I could say something, but really in that situation, what can you say?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you can say that will ever make it right, that will ever make it okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I told him. He was upset. He came back to get his stuff. He didn't want to talk to me or anything. And that's the last day I saw him.
Wow.
And that was the last time I saw R. And
Wow.
yeah, till, there were so many years after that.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like, shitty. Like, not that my relationships were that shitty, but they weren't just working
Yeah.
out the way I wanted them to. And I always thought, is this karma for what I did? I spent 3 years since my son was, from the day I told him the truth. I
Mm-hmm.
spent 3 years always messaging him and his mom,
Mm-hmm.
apologizing maybe twice a year. I would
Mm-hmm.
just apologize to again say how sorry I am. And, I was young, I was stupid, I was this and that.
Yeah.
And his mom always used to say the same thing back. It's okay. I still see him as my grandson. And sometimes it's like when you hear people say that, like they accept your apology, you
Mm-hmm.
think, is she accepting my apology just to get rid of me, just for me to stop talking? I really couldn't believe that she would just easily accept my apology like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then my mom was like, you know what? You've asked for forgiveness. You've asked God for forgiveness. You need to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And this whole weight was lifted off my shoulders.
Yeah.
I just now felt light. I felt good. I felt like everything was going to be okay. But even till now,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's my friend, whether it's my family,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to do what I did,
Mm-hmm.
I always tell them, if you go ahead with that, you and I are not going to be cool.
And that's a really solid lesson because right at the beginning you said always be truthful.
Yes.
And this is you making that become very real for other people who might be in similar situations. Be truthful.
Oh, yeah. Like, and I had even had people be like, oh, but you did it. I'm like, yes, I did it.
And that's all the reason why I know not to do it.
Exactly. I was young. I was stupid. I was scared. And I thought that was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to learn anything from me, I survived.
Yeah.
I know it's scary being pregnant
Mm-hmm.
and the man not wanting to take responsibility. That's okay. And I
Mm-hmm.
always tell anyone, like, do not do it. You're just going to be living a life where you're not happy. This is always going to be there day and night. You're always going to be looking at this man. You're looking at this child and like, I did this. This person is not even supposed to be here.
Yeah. So speaking about the man and the child, because you are truthful to R, were you also truthful to G to tell him that, look, this is your child?
Well, G knew
Oh, he
it's his
did?
child.
Okay.
Yeah, G knew it was his child because remember we tried to go for the abortion
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I lied to him about was it worked, but then when he saw me pregnant, he knew it didn't work. But he also did ask, like, is this from, or this is another one? And I'm like, yep, this is from,
And
that time. So he always knew.
and he didn't try and get involved.
He did,
Oh,
but
only because it was a boy, like you said.
mhm,
Okay.
he did try, but I wasn't interested. And me being in diaspora helped. So he was never there. I kind of was, I don't know, I resented him for some time. But then I thought of my child and I'm like, he needs his father, right? So when he used to call here and there. When he was 3, I decided to go back home. I introduced him to his dad and his parents. Like my son met his grandparents.
How did that go?
It was actually good. It was good. Like they accepted us. They took us in because I had actually talked to his mom over the phone, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. This is what happened. That this guy did this, and we have to figure out if we can talk to your relatives and see what can be done." And I was like, no, I don't want none of that. And
Yeah.
my mom also was like, nah, that's not even necessary. If they want to know their grandson, they can know their grandson. That's it.
What happened to him and his girlfriend? Did she find out?
They broke up like when the baby was born.
Okay.
Yeah, he tried to get back together with me. But yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah.
That's why he was never even main bay to begin with. It was always drama, but till now, he's wherever he is. I think he's seen his son maybe 2 or 3 times, and that was like 11 years ago.
Wow.
Well, 11 years. My son is 11,
Yeah.
and he's only seen him maybe 2 or 3 times, and we're fine. I'm fine. I thought when I tried to reconcile with him, it was this whole thing. You know how as Zimbabweans, especially the women, are raised, just try to make it work for your child, or you're thinking, no man is going to want me because I have a child. Maybe I should just do this. And, but I knew I didn't even love him because even when we were doing whatever we're doing,
Yeah.
it was just physical attraction to, his looks and how he dressed, how he was. But I really didn't love him, you know? So when I tried, it was all forced. I remember the first day he said he loved me during that time. Ugh, I was like, I even laughed. I remember I laughed. And he's like, why are you laughing? And I'm like, yeah, it just, sounds weird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But he's married.
Okay.
G's married. R is married. R is married. He's got 2 kids, 2 boys. G also is married. And I remember, I don't know, R, sometimes we don't talk that often, but sometimes when he sees like something on my Instagram, I post a story, he can just like respond to it. We just have a few laughs, and that's about it.
Sounds like he's healed.
He is. And I think he has been for some time.
Good.
It's just that I always try to keep a distance.
Yeah, yeah.
I just didn't want to be,
Yeah.
But whenever we talk, he's always friendly, funny. He heard I was in South Africa last year and he's like, oh, you should have come to see us, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, no.
Yeah. It might be just one of those cordial expressions,
Yeah,
just to kind of keep the peace to say, look, there's no bad blood, but it wouldn't really
exactly. Yeah.
materialize with it.
That is the thing. And no, we live and we learn. I
And
was
yeah.
really young. And I always think about it. Like, if this had happened to me, obviously, now,
Yeah.
that would have never happened. That whole thing would have never happened.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I wouldn't have cared. I would have been able to deal with the situation differently. But I was 18 and
Yeah.
I'm young, and I was young and I was scared, and I'm thinking, what is my family going to say? And then this guy,
Yeah.
so.
And I just want to say you've done a really good thing.
Oh, thank
well
you.
done to you.
And, this another thing, because this side chick, side nigga business, do not do it. If you do not love the person you're with, just leave them. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, you may think you're clever. You may think you're not going to be caught or whatever, but just let it go. If you don't love someone, leave them. Then be with this other person you're now trying to be with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, those are some really two key lessons there, actually. So one, always be truthful. Avoid yourself a lot of dishonesty and trouble and breaking more than two people's hearts. But also, if you have issues with the person that you are with, if you don't love them enough, this whole side chick business and side guy business, it's not worth all the trouble and the mess.
No, it's not.
Just leave it and live a truthful, happy life. Let them go and let them be with the one who would actually care for them like they're supposed to be cared for.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, man, for such an amazing story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a million. You've been listening to another lockdown episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. Remember to stay home and stay safe. Peace.
Bye.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Sati's on Daru Raini and Chagizang.
Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over.
Sati's on Daru Raini and Chagizang.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motoru no to kujiziru amai.
Kujiziru amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motoru no to kujiziru amai.